Here's a tip that can fix a lot of frustration. The problem arises because of the way that different programs interpret UV coordinates. Some programs think of texture maps as starting from the top left of the image, whereas others see them starting from the bottom left. When a texture map was made with one convention and then is opened in a software that uses the other convention, the map will get flipped upside down. Now, ZBrush is interesting because it interprets UV maps as being the opposite of most other software. This can create a lot of headaches if you don't know how to fix it. Let's take a look at the issue in greater depth and also see how to prevent it from being an issue. Okay, let's start by importing a model that was originally made in a different program. So let's go to Import. And you can find this in your exercise files folder under texture flipping, and let's open up monument.obj. Okay, now let's go ahead and put on a texture map that was exported from the other program. So under texture map, let's click on the texture swatch and we'll go and import. And from the same folder, let's get monument.bmp. Okay, and just to make it easier to see, let's change the material to something white like Skin Shade 4. I'll just zoom in here. So you can see it looks kind of like a jumble. It doesn't quite look right. Now this is because the map is exported one way up. You can see here in the swatch, it's got a certain orientation to it. However, ZBrush is interpreting it as being the wrong way around. So the solution for this is going into UV map and clicking Flip V, which flips it vertically. Okay, now you can see that the texture aligns much more accurately. However, if we now take this model and we work on it and then we export it again and then bring it back into whatever program it originally came from, the texture will be upside down there because the model will have been saved with this flipped UV coordinate. Now, ZBrush has a default setting that tries to fix that. If we go into Preferences, Import, Export, and under the Export tab, there's a setting here called eFlip Map Vert. This will make it so that when it exports, it will flip the map vertically so that it lines up with the UVs. Now, this is sort of like a double negative because we flipped the UVs when we imported the model, and then if we flip the map when it exports, both of them will be flipped, which means it's a double negative, so it'll actually come out looking the right direction. And this can be fine except for the fact that there are many times that you need a model in Maya or 3ds Max to bring in maps from many different programs. If you load the 3D model with flipped UVs back into Maya, and then any maps made in other programs won't align. Or if you load in a color map made in ZBrush and a displacement map made in some other program, those two maps will not align with each other. This becomes a big headache really fast. So what we need to do is make sure that things are consistent and predictable. Let's see what I do to keep things from getting out of hand. So whenever I open a file in ZBrush that has textures or might eventually have textures, I always make sure to come in here and flip V, just like I already did. That way, the texture will look appropriate in ZBrush, and then I can do whatever editing I need to do. I could change the shape of the object, whatever. Then when I go to export, I flip again just before exporting. And then I also make sure to go into Preferences and turn off eFlip Map Vert. This way, the UVs get flipped when I first import the model into ZBrush, so everything looks right in ZBrush. And then I just flip them right back to where they belong when I export, and I make sure that ZBrush doesn't flip the map to compensate. So if now I want to get this into another program, I'll just click Export and save it like normal. Now this is something I need to do all the time. And there's something unfortunate about the preferences is that even if you turn off this setting and then you go to config and you save the config, it actually doesn't save that you've changed this setting. So what I like to do is add that to my custom interface. So let's go to Enable Customize. We'll go to Import Export, hold down Control and Alt, and I'll drag this setting somewhere where I can always see it in my interface. And then I also like to go into the UV map, flip V, and I'm going to hold down Control and Alt, and we'll drag this into my custom interface here. So I can always see, is this on or is this off? And I can make sure to turn it off if it's on. And then I've got my flip V right here, so I can always flip it if I have to. Now, just remember that exporting for 3D printing is different. That's because the file is going straight to its final output rather than going to some other program for further work. The 3D print exporter flips the map for you, but it doesn't flip the UVs. And that's okay, because you shouldn't be editing the 3D printable file once you export it. It should go straight to a 3D printer, which will open the flipped UVs and the flipped map, and since they're both flipped, it will align correctly. Okay, so it's a lot to take in, so I'll just repass very quickly. If you're going to be sending the model back out to another program to continue working on it, like Maya or 3ds Max, you flip UVs, and you first get them in. So actually, it'll come in looking upside down. Then you click Flip V to make it look correct so you can work on it in ZBrush. Then when you go to export it, you click Flip V again, and you make sure that eFlip Map Vert is turned off. Then once you've exported it, you can flip V again so that it looks right in ZBrush. However, if you're exporting for 3D printing, go ahead and just leave it on whatever looks correct in ZBrush, and it'll look correct in the 3D print. Okay, if you follow these steps, everything should work out. I know it's cumbersome and annoying, but until ZBrush decides to join the rest of 3D software in the way it interprets UV coordinates, we're stuck with this system.